Hello, Oscar. Very good evening. Hi. Good to have you. Thank you for coming. Although it was a very short notice for you, but we had our own limitations because we had about 100 participants. So registration was too high. So thank you. Thank you. So whenever you start recording, just let me know once. Yeah.
It is. It has been started.
All right. Hello, Gargiji. Welcome. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. So, I think we should start. All right. So, on the behalf of Department of Philosophy, Panjab University, Chandigarh, and SAMVAD, an informal group of teachers and students initiative, I take this opportunity to welcome our participants of the workshop, the guest speaker, Oscar Brenifier, and our dear colleagues from different universities and states, and from our own faculty of Punjab University. Uh, I also wish to welcome participants from other parts of the world. I'm very thankful to Professor Oscar for joining in. And it's been now a few years that philosophical counseling and philosophical practice has caught the attention of Indian mind in general and academia in particular. And we, as institutionalized teachers, I think it is our duty to facilitate the upcoming generations and our students to explore this world, to make some more sense of this new field that is coming up. So, although Oscar Brenifer shall be formally introduced very soon by Yamini, but let me share a common lens that most of us have seen him through during different opportunities that we have had earlier, uh, through his method of engaging other participants in a dialogue, and his works, rather, I would say, are direct intervention to wake us up from deep slumber, if I may use this simile. And also, I'm reminded of another very interesting claim that he made while he was inviting students to engage with him. And there was some kind of a inhibition, or if I may say, little fear of asking. So his comment was that not to ask is like, existing. It is not an existence. It is a non-existent entity. So which was in some way, I agreed to his interpretation, and it left a mark, I would say, on my memory, and that's how I know him with this. And also, I would be thankful to Yamini for sharing this wonderful link of TED Talk, whereby Oscar is, constantly under the stress of, sharing his ideas within a temporal frame, which was, he was, a little bugged, and he was little stressed, if I may be a little honest. So these are the, I would say, images of Oscar that we have, and also his work that has been shared by Yamini again, which were very interesting. But specifically, I would refer to one special work that I found very interesting, the art of philosophical practice, whereby he's trying to interpret the idea of philosophy into four different shades: philosophy as a culture, philosophy as an attitude, philosophy as a field, and of course philosophy as a competence, which is, finally, uh, it may be expanded to another domain of philosophical practice. So with this, I would say that I'm very hopeful that his deliberations and method of engaging us will enrich us and initiate us to recognize this art of analysis and rationalization, this whole process of rationalization. And of course, he will be, I'm very sure, making it a point to make us see the limits of this process of rationalization itself. So I welcome Oscar Brenifier once again. Thank you for taking out time for us. And I wish to put it on record that it is very kind on his part. He's been very kind to accept our offer to be with us without being paid for, you know, for this time that he's devoting to us. So I now invite Yamini to briefly introduce him, although we know him, but still there would be many participants who might not be knowing him to the extent that we want them to know. So, and I also welcome my students and my colleague. I think Lalan has joined. So we welcome you all once again. Thank you. Over to you, Yamini.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, ma'am. And I would like to introduce Oscar, but I not sure that I think he has left the meeting. He's not with us at the moment.
No, yeah, I don't see him as well. I think might be a connection issue.
I think he'll join soon, but I'll introduce him anyway. And so, Oscar is one of the pioneers or one of the initial uh, people who are working as practitioners who are practicing philosophy, and here we have Oscar again. So I welcome you, Oscar, with us. I have been training with him for around a year, and I would like to introduce both Oscar and IPP is basically Institute of Philosophical Practice, and this is an institute which is training a lot of people uh, with more of theory and less practice, which might sound a little bit contradictory, but it is very much possible. And you can find more information on the website, how different kinds of courses are being offered. And so yes, and to introduce Oscar, Oscar is he's the co-founder of Institute of Philosophical Practice, and they have many practitioners from varied backgrounds. He also has a degree in biology, and he has written more than 50 books in for children, adults, and he works with many nationalities. He works with children, corporates, organizations, individuals, and we know, as there are some of his strengths that ma'am also mentioned, that he finds that thinking is kind of an exercise and mind is a gymnasium, and we think for the joy of thinking and we practice for the joy of thinking, which many people find very contradictory, very controversial too, but it has its own merits. So I think that we will see the rest of his personality in the workshop to come. And I would hand over the microphone to Akshat for some clarifications and the about some details about the workshop.
Hello, good evening, all. Thank you all for joining us. I'm an ex-Panjab University researcher, and I'm practicing myself in the online sphere. I would just like to give a brief introduction and tell you an overview of what the workshop is going to be about. It's the objective is basically uh, to demonstrate Oscar Bremfer's own approach to philosophical practice. We specifically will not be discussing or going into the nature of philosophical counseling or philosophical practice. We are more interested in theory, sorry, in practice today, and less interested in discussing the nature and theory of different types of practices. So that being said, we're going to follow the dynamic methodology of Oscar, which he follows in his consultations and workshops. It's very in the moment, very dynamic, just as his personality. And we uh, we expect that by the end of this workshop, we'll have learned something. We want to keep this interactive. We don't want it to be a very mainstream workshop. Oscar likes it that way. He likes questions coming at him and that thought-provoking questioning. and answering. That's the process we'll follow for the workshop as well. Please feel free to leave your questions in the chat box. Uh, we will entertain all the questions as much as time permits. And uh, to tell you about the methodology, it's more of the methodology is focused more on competencies and philosophical attitudes, and how we can develop philosophical competencies in terms of a consultation through philosophical attitudes, thinking patterns, speech modules, and thought-provoking questioning. Um, and with that, I would like to hand over the mic to Oscar. And thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you for taking out some precious time. We hope we will collaborate and we can have a good session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so thanks a lot to all the people that tried to clarify a little bit what we've been doing. But just to contradict very shortly, how do you say your name? Akshat. I'll just give a very short theoretical background on philosophical practice. Now, as I or people work with me see it, because as you might know, or maybe we'll see, there's different, some opposite or different conception of what philosophical practice is. So the background I would like to give, which from my standpoint is a crucial opposition within philosophy, is an opposition I will take between Socrates and Aristotle. Plato is sort of in between, so I will skip him because the opposition is not so clear, because I think it's sort of an intermediate. But basically, what are the main difference? Because today, philosophy, at least in the Western sense of what philosophy is and the way it's taught in most of the world's academic context, is more Aristotelian. Yeah. So it's more Aristotelian because what is it? It's a body of knowledge. Right? Aristotle spoke about everything, just about everything, and he theorized about everything. And he has a very key concept: is first we have to define things, yeah. And then he even though he has talked to people we can see as influences, then he will develop some kind of a monologue about describing reality, be it metaphysical, biological, anthropological. He describes. And when we have, and probably people that study philosophy know that when we study philosophy, we study authors, their theories, their concepts, the problem they raised, and we're supposed to know. It's a lot about knowledge, yeah? And if you have a lot of knowledge, then you get some diploma, and then you become, you have a status, and you're somebody, you're a big philosopher, big shot in philosophy, yeah. So it's a bit of a caricature, but that's basically the Aristotelian tradition. Socrates is rather opposed to such a perspective. First of all, because for him, the real subject is not the subject, meaning that what the real subject is not what we are talking about. It's not the ideas we're discussing. The real subject is a person, the subject as a person, as an individual. And one reason why he didn't write, he was very suspicious about writing, is that he was interested in writing on souls. For him, the soul is, you don't write books, you don't write on paper or whatever the Greeks used, but he wants to write on the soul. So the real issue is the challenge of a dialogue, because you can only write on a soul and on your own soul through dialogue. Even thinking, Plato will say that thinking is a dialogue with yourself. And if you have a dialogue with yourself, it means that there is some kind of opposition within yourself. There's some kind of fracture of being. There's some kind of tension. And that's what he's interested in. Yeah. And then a second point is knowledge is not the issue. Thinking is the issue. Now, I know often people can say, well, it's the same thing. Well, no, it's not the same thing. It can be connected, of course, because unless you think a bit, you don't have knowledge, and knowledge helps you to think. But the difference for Socrates is that the action, the process itself of thinking was the issue. And that's why very often in the dialogues of Plato at the end, you don't know. It's what's called in Greek an aporia, a dead end. You don't know. You don't have some final conclusion which you can quote in your term paper or in some book you're writing. It's the process. It's the game. Like if you play tennis, you don't care so much about the results, but the process itself. Now, this is very disturbing because human beings, we like results. Something we can say, okay, I know this. But not for Socrates, and that's what he has his famous quote, I know that I know nothing. Now, some people say this guy is tricky because he seems to know a lot of stuff. But because why? Because see, in the art of dialogue, the main point is questioning. It's questioning. But if you know, why would you have questions? In fact, when I criticize professors, very often it's about that. They don't so much question students, but for him, the questioning was the main point. But if you already know, there's no need for questioning. Questioning presupposes you don't know. And even if you think you know, still you don't know. You presuppose some form of ignorance. And that's why his questioning was rather irritating, because it looked falsely naive, ingenuous. But it's not, because through the questioning, he's willing to rethink absolutely anything. It's a radical form of questioning. So we are even ready to question what seems the obvious. And in fact, the obvious is the enemy. That's why when Aristotle say, let's define that. Well, for Socrates, no. Because once you define, you stop thinking. And that's why in the Socratic dialogue as written by Plato, we never end up defining, but the attempt to define is an endless process. Yeah. So it's a rather destabilizing perspective or activity or positioning, because that's not what we have learned in school. In school, teacher tells you thing, you listen, you write it down. At the exam, you repeat what you've learned. Yeah. But for Socrates, that's not the issue. The issue is a permanent interrogation, a permanent surprise. Right. And but the sophists didn't like it so much, because when you do this to someone, you can make them feel stupid. And human beings, especially when they're smart, they don't like to look stupid. We want to look smart. We have an image we want to maintain. Okay, so that's just a little background I wanted to give, because sometimes when I start questioning people, sometimes some people get upset that they think I'm trying to do something terrible to them. No, it's a real attempt to think and make the other person think and have a joyful dialogue. Yeah. So that was my little introduction. Now, what I propose to do now is see if, based on what you know, based on what you heard today already, based on whatever you want, either if you have some comments you want to make, even criticism. In our business, criticism is just fine if it's peaceful. If people get excited, no. If they want to prove they're right, no. But if it's peaceful as a way to engage dialogue, criticism is fine. So it can be criticism, it can be questions, it can be whatever you want, yeah. But then we'll try to engage some peaceful discussion, where primarily we'll be engaging in thinking, in thinking, yes. Because the one last thing I want to say, sometimes I'm a bit critical of the way philosophy is taught. We're mainly taught monologue and not so much dialogue. Yeah. And that's so. Okay, so I'm done with my little monologue, my little Aristotelian monologue. So now let's see if anybody wants to say or ask something. And you raise your physical hand or your virtual hand. I don't know much this Google platform, but I think you have virtual hand. Yeah. So is anyone want to engage in some kind of dialogue? And if you have stupid questions, don't be ashamed. Stupid questions are the best.
Thank you, Oscar. If there's anyone who wants to take up a question, who wants to ask something, has any doubt,
Okay,
okay.
okay. I see some people write on the chat. I prefer that you, if you have a question, I saw briefly that you raise your hand and you say it, and then, yeah, I saw briefly something popping up.
Yes.
Who was it?
I think it was Shivani, ma'am.
Shivani. Sorry if I say
No,
name
that's okay.
badly. Yeah?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh,
That's
Shivani. Yeah, you wanted
yeah,
to ask something.
yeah. That the question is just a very simple one. What does it mean to think? What is
Okay,
to
okay,
think?
okay, okay. Now you're okay if we do a little tennis game, you and I?
We are all prepared for it. We
Yeah,
came
okay.
prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because see, the first thing is when I speak to someone, I try to see, well, who is this person? To see what is the meaning of this question. Now, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you're a professor of philosophy. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see, normally, but I might be wrong. You tell me if my presupposition, we see when we question people else as presupposition. I would tend to think that a professor of philosophy has already an idea about what thinking is. You agree with me?
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay. You see, so then I present to you the way I think. You say, what is like if somebody lives in my house and they say, "Where's the kitchen?" Well, I'm a bit surprised because he knows where the kitchen is. Why is he asking me where the kitchen is? See, there probably is a reason, I don't know. So Shivani, if I presuppose that you must know what thinking is, why would you ask me?
To maybe advance this discussion and advance this debate, and
Okay, well,
maybe students feel a little energized to ask themselves.
okay, so it's a pedagogical trick where you say, I'm gonna I'm gonna give an example to the shy students, right? Okay. But okay, but let's show them how we're gonna do it. When I see, and I recommend this because as you might know, I work a lot with children, and I always have a recommendation to parents because parents, if they take the time to discuss with their children, which is not always the case, they're often so busy, they have no time to have dialogue with children. I say, if your child asks you a question, before you answer, always invite the child first as a deal to come up with some kind of answer. Even if you say, I don't know, you say, well, invent and to propose an answer. And then after that, once you got the answer, you see if it fits you fine, or if you have a different idea, or if you want to pursue the discussion. So Shivani, and I'm curious as well, it's interesting to know what other people think. So let's make a deal that before we go on, since you're interested in this theme, can you give us a short definition of what is thinking?
All right, I'll try. Um, I mean, this is just committing a blunder, I know, in front of you to affirm, a kind of
No,
definition, So, but let me
Shivani,
try so that.
blunder. No, there's no blunder here. You're in the
Okay.
wrong place. Blunder is in school. You made a blunder, you got a
Oh,
bad
yes.
grade. Here,
Yeah.
there's no blunder. There's just,
All right.
having a tennis game together. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. So I think that thinking involves some kind of a reflection on what has been given to you.
Okay. Okay. So thinking is to reflect on what has been given to you. And just to specify, what do you call what's been given to you? Like a gift, or what is been given to you?
An idea, a theory, a doctrine, or even any concept,
Okay. Okay.
even a
So
word. A
okay.
word.
So let's give it a general. Let's see. That's the idea of a concept. When you have a different elements, we try to give a name that could englobe all this. Yeah. So can you give one word that would capture these different things in one category? To reflect upon what?
To reflect upon a concept.
About concepts. Okay. But let me ask you, do you think that to think is only to reflect about concepts, or can it be to reflect of other things which are not concepts?
Mm,
Or you don't. So either you tell me yes it is, no it's not, or I don't know, as you wish.
primarily, I think it is. It is a concept.
Yeah, but now you're not nice with me. You're cheating me, because I'm not asking if it's primary. I'm asking if it's exclusively concept, or can it be on something else than a concept?
I think that even if it is a theory, even if it is a doctrine, it can be further reduced to a concept, isn't it?
Okay. So are you okay that the way you're speaking, we're primarily speaking about some abstract type of information? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, be it theory, concept, it's all abstract. Yeah, okay. So thinking would be to reflect about some abstract information. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I have a problem. I want to check with you. Can you guess? Let's see if you can guess what's on my mind. Do you know what? I have a little problem with this. Can you guess what it is or no?
Okay. No, that
No.
can't be,
Okay.
because that is
Okay.
not all right. If I
That's
may just
fine. No,
no, no. If
it's
I
fine.
may add, a concept without a word, it has
Yeah,
to
but
be
it's fine. But
okay.
it's just the idea abstract. Let's call it abstract information. Yeah, to make it a general category. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So let me ask you then, since you don't see what could be bothering me, let me tell you what is bothering me, and I'm going to make it in the question. Can we think about our daily life, experiences of daily life, or you think no, that is not thinking anymore?
Uh, most of the time, no.
No, most of the time, I don't know. Is it possible to think about experiences of daily life, or you would consider this is not
Yes,
thinking anymore?
yes, it is possible.
Okay, so then it's not only abstract information, but as well it can be concrete experience, right?
Hmm. Yes,
You agree?
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
But I learned something about you during this process. Do you know what I learned about you?
No.
No. Well, you're a real philosopher. That's what I learned about you. You see, now I don't know. Are you familiar with the Aristophanes play called The Clouds, about where he's laughing at Socrates? Are you familiar with this play or no?
No, no,
No,
no.
okay. Because see, we know Socrates to three people, primarily Plato, secondarily with Xenophon, but a little bit as well through Aristophanes. But Aristophanes, he was a playwright, a comic playwright, and he wants to laugh at Socrates, and he
Hmm.
wrote a play called The Clouds. And in that play,
Hmm.
Socrates is in a basket suspended in the air. You know, he's not touching ground. He's suspended in the air. That's why it's called The Clouds. It's up in the air. Yeah. And that's what he sees in Socrates, is someone who deals with things which are not connected, which are not grounded, not connected to reality, yeah, to concrete reality, let's call it, but it's connected. And very often, when we speak to philosophers, we often meet people that are concerned and dealing with abstract ideas, but when it comes to concrete daily experience, they might be awkward, they might be disconnected, they might be. And that's often the image, for right or wrong, of the philosopher, is someone who survives in an abstract world and not connected to concrete daily experience. And that's why I told you, okay, you seem like a real philosopher, disconnected from concrete daily experience. Does my conclusion surprise you?
Partially.
Well, partially. You're trying to trick me again. What does it mean? That does it surprise you? Rather yes, rather no?
No.
No. Okay. You know that's the case, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Generally, people study philosophy, they want to talk about things that normal people either are not interested or it seems kind of weird. And that's probably why you did a career in philosophy, yeah? Huh?
Right.
Now, this is very interesting because you see, that's a major issue in our work in philosophical practice, which is difficult for many philosophers because people we get that come to see us, they're rarely philosophers. They're like, again, I call them normal people, short of a better way to call them. And they come and say, my husband left me, I have no job, everybody hates me, what can I do? Or I feel life has no meaning. See, they come. And that's a big difficulty for a lot of philosophers, that they feel awkward. They don't feel confident. They don't know how. And the challenge for us is, how can we use abstract concepts, because we use them, but to deal with empirical, concrete, existential reality? Yeah? Make sense?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it does. It does.
Okay, so you see, that's for me a nice dialogue, because I'm trying to discover who the person in front of me is, and I discover she's a philosopher. Then I see how, because of this, she tends to exclude empirical reality, and then it gets me to rethink the problem of the relation between philosophy and empirical reality. Yeah. So that's
Right.
just an example of a short, nice, simple little discussion where you both deal with somebody, discover somebody, makes the person in front of you conscious of himself, and at the same time, you deal with some general issue. Yeah.
And that is what you would refer to as philosophical practice, if I may say.
Yeah, I think our little exercise, you and I, is an excellent example of both what is philosophical practice and what is a major problem in philosophical practice, which is the apparent disconnection between ideas. And here I would like to remind the idea of Kant, which for me is very important. He says, always you need to connect the concept with intuition. And what he means by intuition is our example, it means concrete reality. So he says, when you have concepts without concrete reality, it's empty. And when you have concrete reality or intuition without concept, it's blind. And we have to keep both sides together, yeah? Concrete reality, experience, intuition, perception, whatever, and the abstract concept at the same time. And that's difficult because people are either on one side or the other. Most people are in concrete reality, not in concept, but philosophers are in concepts, and often they tend to forget concrete reality.
Right.
Does that make sense to you, Shivani?
It does, certainly. Yeah.
Did you enjoy our little dialogue?
I did. I did. I enjoyed your TED talk too.
Okay. All
I
right.
would
Good.
encourage our students and participants to be interactive and to be more forthcoming, please.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe now you gave an example and people saw that it's not deadly. You can survive. And
Yes, exactly.
it's often people get
Yeah.
scared, you know.
All right. Divita is there.
I have a terrible reputation, you know. Divita, I see you raised your hand, Divita. So why don't you?
Yes, hello. Good. First of all, a very good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us. And I heard your dialogue with ma'am. It was very entertaining at the same time. I really got to know about thinking in general. So basically, I don't have a philosophical background. I am basically a literature student, and I'm working in translation. So I would concentrate on the idea of circumstance, because sometimes what happens is that most of your thinking is influenced by the circumstances. And I would also go back to the David Hume's idea of belief, that and even superstition for that example, or even if I could touch on spirituality as well.
Okay, Divita, can I stop you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Do you know why I'm stopping you?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know why I'm stopping you, or you have no idea?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, because visibly you're a good student, you've read a lot of stuff, and now you start telling me many things, and I'm lost. I'm lost because you see, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know where you're going. I don't see the focus, and I have the impression that if I let you go on, you're gonna quote more and more things, more and more fields. So, and that's how the mind gets lost, and that's the problem of being a good student. Good students always they write terrible papers because they write a lot of stuff, but you say, I don't understand. What do they want? What are they trying to say? So I propose to you that now, try to say, first of all, try to qualify what you're going to speak. Is it an objection? Is it a comment? Is it a question? What do you think you want to do?
I just want to know, like, the role of circumstances in thinking. How does it
Hey,
influence
okay,
us?
fine. Then instead of quoting David Hume and spirituality, just make it simple
Okay.
and
Okay.
phrase a very nice, simple question that even me, I'll understand it. Go ahead, ask your question.
So my question is very simple: that how do circumstances come in way of thinking as an
All
exercise?
right, okay. Well, you see, now I feel smart now because I understand you. I feel much better. And second, it's more interesting to have a question to focus on that you listen to all kind of things. Okay. Now, again, I'll do like with Shivani. I imagine that you have thought about this issue or no.
Yes, I have. I have.
Okay. So I'm always suspicious. See, that's how you know good students. They ask questions and they sort of already know the answer, you know? So I prefer that they already tell me. So can you, maybe you have lots of ideas about it. Can you give a short idea about what would be the connection between thinking and circumstances? Do you have a short proposition?
Like, let's take for example, I want to do a certain thing, but I'm not able to do it because of a certain uh, backlog that I'm facing. But I do have a good idea of how I will do it, but I am not able to do it, and that certainly, it drives me to the margins of frustrations where I'm
Okay,
not
but
able to do
stop,
it.
stop, stop, stop. Okay. Now, well, I know people don't like to be stopped, but when I stop, it's either because it's something really important that was said, or it's because I don't understand anymore. So I sort of see what I call the panorama, the background. Yeah. But you see, but you mentioned two things in what you said already is about doing something. The second thing about feelings, about frustration. But you see, I don't see the thinking in your story. What is the thinking you're speaking about in the example you gave? What's thinking there?
Like, will I be able to do it or not? Or
Okay,
will this
nice.
ever end?
No, don't add. Just one was good enough. Just
Okay.
say one. Just one.
All
Just
right.
take
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Repeat.
Will I be able to do it in the future or not?
Okay, will I be able to do it in the future or not? Okay. Now, do you call this thinking?
Um,
Just
I
tell me
do.
yes or no. Just tell me
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes, I
Yes.
do.
Okay, okay. All right. So now I'm going to propose to you a new concept, which you're probably aware of, which is the reason why I don't call this thinking. And I'll tell you what the concept is. I call this worrying.
Okay.
Do you see the difference between worrying and thinking?
Yes, now I do. Yes,
Now
yes.
you do. And how? Well, then if you do, tell me one main difference you could make between worrying and thinking.
Uh, Thinking is more organized, I feel, and worrying is like I am assuming the outcome before even going through the entire process.
Okay, nice, beautiful, exactly. You see? Huh? Now, this is very important because we meet this all the time. In fact, people say, I think a lot. I say, oh, really? That's nice. I'm jealous. If you think a lot, congratulations, because it's hard to think. And they say, well, give me an example. And then they give me an example. I say, but that's not thinking, that's worrying. Yeah. And as you said, thinking is structured, worrying is not. But as well, there's a couple of other things. Thinking is pleasant, worrying is unpleasant.
Mm.
Thinking is controlled and deliberate. Worrying is not. You know, when you cannot sleep at night, you know, your mind is spinning. You're worried. Yeah. Okay. So that's very important because indeed, and now you raised an important thing. And let me ask you another question: where is the circumstances more important, in thinking or in worrying?
Um, I think it plays a major role in worrying, I feel, and not so much in
Yeah.
thinking.
And why do you think circumstances is more important in worrying than in thinking?
Okay, so
By the way, if I ask a question you cannot answer, you can say, look, it's too hard, or I don't know. Huh?
I can't figure it out. For
Okay.
now, I cannot.
Okay. So let me propose to you that in worrying, we are determined by the outside. When I worry, I worry that I cannot, and therefore I am determined by circumstances, by the outside, by impossibilities, yes, or even circumstances within myself. Thinking is more free. It's more deliberate. I can think. I don't know if the term speaks to you since you don't study philosophy. Does the word ontology speaks to you or no?
I have a rough idea about it, but
Okay, that means no. Okay, I understand. That means no. Okay, ontology is the science of being. Yeah, so it's about being. It's about what things are. So we try to touch the essence of things. Yeah. So thinking has a lot to do with what things are, you know, in themselves, what you are, what things are, what the world is. Yeah. And we are not, we're free. We're more free. We're not affected by the outside. Yeah. So already, if you're largely determined by circumstances, then you're more worrying than thinking. Does that make sense to you?
yes, definitely.
Now, it doesn't mean that thinking is not affected or doesn't deal with circumstances, but it is more distant with circumstances. Yeah, it is not determined. So there's no frustration, for example. When in a worrying, yeah, it's almost the essence of frustration of worrying is frustration. Yeah. So I discovered something about you. You know what it is?
Please tell me.
Well, come on, it's obvious now. What did I discover? Something you seem to be doing easily. Well, you're what's called it. I don't know if you say this in India and America. It's called a worry bunny.
Okay.
Bunny?
Worrying money.
No, not worrying money. A worry bunny. Bunny is
Bunny.
a little rabbit.
Oh,
Little
yeah, yeah, I
rabbit.
got it.
Worry bunny. Are you a worry bunny, Divita? Do do you tend to worry?
A lot.
Yes, you see. Now, what's interesting for everybody here, I didn't have to spend 2 hours with Divita or know her life. Just because the way she thinks and formulates her questions, I learned something about her, you see. Now, maybe later I'll discover no, but the idea is that what people say, the way they speak, reveals a lot about themselves. And that's the essence of philosophy consultation, is that we have to listen carefully to what people are saying, analyze what they're saying, and then we get to know them. And as we get to know them, we help them become conscious of themselves. Yeah? So, but Divita, since you seem like a nice girl, let me ask you, would you like to replace worrying with thinking to feel less frustrated? Would you like
Any day. Just give me like
any
just
day?
just give me half
Okay.
an hour
Well,
when I'm not worried.
okay. Well,
At
let's see.
the
Okay.
time of my
Well,
life.
okay. Well, let's see if we can do something here
Okay.
to go on a second step. What do you think would be needed or useful so you shift your worrying to thinking, to something more free, more joyful? What do you think should change in the way you let things happen in your mind? Do you have any idea?
Like I have tried meditating, but that hasn't helped me so much.
Okay, well, never mind. Never mind if it has helped you or not. Don't go too fast. Yes.
Okay.
Now, why? Okay, but actually, no. Let's see. Why do you think meditation didn't help you? Do you have any idea?
It's just that the thoughts, the worry never leaves my mind. Even when I'm
Oh,
closing my eyes and I'm imagining, a peaceful situation and I'm
okay.
trying to meditate,
Okay, but then, yeah, but then it doesn't mean meditation didn't help you. It means that you have a hard time doing meditation, which is different, right?
okay, I haven't
See
thought
the
of that.
difference?
Yes, I
If you
can
say,
now.
if you
Yes.
tell me, oh yeah, I can manage meditation, but it doesn't change anything, then I say, okay, meditation doesn't help you. But if you say, even when I meditate, I still worry, it means that, God, you worry so much that you cannot do meditation. Is that it?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
okay. But as well, maybe, sometimes people need different kind of practice to deal with issues. Yeah, some people maybe they should learn dancing or football
Hmm.
or whatever. So, is there something else you've done in your life where you manage to worry less? Any activity where you notice you tend to worry less? Have you ever noticed?
Like I do write, like I do like writing short stories.
Okay, there you go. When you write short stories, you worry less. We're
Yes,
good?
I do. Yes,
Now,
yes.
let's take, you see, so I always tell people, don't try to do practice that doesn't fit you. If meditation fits you, do it. If it doesn't fit you, don't do it. Find something else. Like personally, myself, I'm not very hot about meditation. I don't enjoy it, but some people they do. So always find something that fits you. Now, what fits you is to write short stories. So let's examine this for a minute. Why do you think writing short stories stop you from worrying?
Maybe because that those are the only moments when I'm thinking creatively.
Okay, yeah, nice, because at that moment you're creative. Yeah, at that moment, and creativity implies freedom. Is that okay? That implies freedom?
Yes, it does. It
Yes.
does.
So at that moment, you're not prisoner of circumstances anymore, because when you create, you make a world that you determine. Yeah. So
Hmm.
you fabricate circumstances of your story instead of being a prisoner of established circumstances. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, 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 definitely.
Good. So now you know, next time you start worrying about the future, say, shut up, Divita, go and write a short story. It's more interesting, it's more creative, and more joyful. Is that good?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Huh? I like the idea that each one has to find his own therapy, if I can call it this way. I don't like the word very much, but something like that. But some way where you can think instead of worry. You like the prescription I gave you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
It gave me a new perspective also towards things. I feel
Yeah.
I'll think about it. Now I'll
Okay.
think.
All right. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Fine. Did you want to add something, or we're good?
We are good. We are good.
All right.
Thank you
Fine.
so much. Thank you.
Okay. So see, that was another example of a consultation, and I remind to you basically what you've done is mainly to introduce a distinction between thinking and worrying. And second, find in the mind of the person, because we all have things, for Devita, it's creative writing, but everyone has some experience that he plays a positive role, but people don't think about it, they forget. So when I talk to them, we try to identify problems, but as well, we try to identify some elements that could help deal with the problem, like here, creative writing, but somebody else would be something else. I take a walk in the woods or whatever, or meditation. Yeah. Okay. So good. So anybody else wants to speak?
Yes, I see Ashpriya and Pratyush, your hands are
Okay.
raised. I would like to ask Madam Nimali Fernando, I think your hand was raised before.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Yes.
actually, I'm Asha Fernando from Sri Lanka, and I really enjoy with this discussion.
But
And
can you open the camera? Otherwise, I think
yes,
you're a
yes,
robot. I don't like
yes.
the robots. Go ahead,
Okay,
Imali.
okay. And I would like to uh, give some idea, but really I want to get clarify is because the thinking is something, it is some sort of cognitive activity, the thinking. So the each and every word are the thoughts. What we doing under the philosophical argument is that we are trying to get a systematic approach to our thinking. So within the thinking as a cognitive activity, each and everything we can think, we can imagine, we can
Okay,
remind,
Nimali,
and all.
I,
Yes.
I'm going to stop you because, as you maybe know now, I have a very simple mind, and when it becomes too complicated, I get lost. So let me ask you, just like Devita, are you trying to propose an idea? Do you have a question? Do you have an objection? What is it that you want to do? Oh, she has connection problem. Are you here, Nimali, or you
Yes,
have...
yes, yeah, but I did not get the your question properly.
I'm asking you, what do you want to do? Do you want to ask a question? Do you want to make a proposition? Do you want to make an objection? What is the
No,
nature of what?
actually, I want to give a certain idea that mean each and every thinking will not be a concept or doctrine. So the thinking is just a cognitive activity. But
Okay,
what we mean under the philosophy or the argument, that means the logos mean we want to develop our thinking in a rational way.
Nimali, are you a
Yes.
professor?
I'm a university lecturer in one of
Yeah,
the
but see
universities.
that's why I get scared when I hear professors, because I was always a bad student, because that's how these professors, I just don't understand. So let me ask you, be nice with me. Can you make a very short proposition, like 15 words maximum, of what you want to say? Really summarize, very synthetic. Can you do this?
Yeah, because what I want to mention, that means through the thinking, because I want to get clarify the thinking. The thinking is just it is each and everybody has that activity. It's a mental activity. Then the man needs it because
No,
to
no,
do it.
Nimali, you're
Yes.
not nice with me. I thought that we were going to be friends, but you're not nice with me. Do you notice?
Okay. Okay.
No, because I ask you to have pity on me and give me something very short, but you want to give me a whole lecture. Give me the essence of what you want to say. In a very 15 words is
Yeah.
nice summary.
Yeah, because what I want to highlight, that mean the thinking, it's a common word, right?
Okay.
And
All right. Fine.
it
Okay.
hasn't
Good,
it hasn't the deep no concepts or notions or that kind of thing. That will come later when we develop our logos. That will come
Can I ask you, Nimali, why you don't like short statements? Tell me.
That is my way of explaining things here.
Well, you see, now you're hurting my feelings, because if you want to explain to me, it means you think I cannot understand what you say.
No,
You see?
no.
Nimali, hey, don't take it easy. I'm French, and in France we use irony a lot. So don't worry. Don't take everything I say for serious. But but sometimes, do you notice people, they want to explain? I say, why do you want to explain? First, say the thing, and then if the person does not understand, he will ask for an explanation. And I often see this with professors. They want to explain. I say, no, just give a short statement, and then let the student, if they have a problem, let them ask question. Yeah. So, but it's not. You started nicely, and I heard you say thinking is a very general word. That's what you started by saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with that. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you say it's a general word, it means that you think it lacks some specificity. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's move with that. Do you want to add some specification to thinking so it would be less general?
Yeah. Actually, that mean the thinking will be more formalized when it link with the logos.
Okay, fine. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm following you now. Let's not add too much. Okay. So thinking would be formalized when it's connected to what you call, with the Greek word logos, which, let's call it in English, reason. Is that good?
Yeah.
Now, I imagine you realize that most people, when they use the word thinking, they don't do that, right? They don't care about the logos. They don't care about reason. When they say, I have to think about buying bread, they don't care about the logos, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So you think we should be clear that there's two different ideas already of thinking. There's a general type of thinking, and there's a specific type of thinking which is connected to reason. Is that it?
Yeah, because the
Not because. We will see because after. Don't do the because too quick. See, first the what. The what. Because after. Okay. But do you agree so far? That's your point, that there's thinking as undifferentiated concept, and is thinking in a formalized, rational way. Is that it?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Now, was this the whole point you were trying to make, or did you want to add another point to that?
Yes.
Or that's it?
Yeah. Because when in the general thinking, that means when it comes to the cognitive activity, and later we will our mind will contact with any object, and after that, what I mean, after that we will get an idea, and then our rationality and our epistemic aspect will developed. And
Okay.
then
Now you lost, Nimali. You lost me again. So it's okay. Let's be patient. That's why Socrates says, I know nothing, because he would get lost when he heard these wise people speak, and he would ask a question. Okay. Now, again, I say there's general thinking, which is undifferentiated, and then there's thinking, which is formalized and based on reason, and this implies a process in order to do that, right?
yeah.
Yes. Now, is this the distinction you wanted to make? Is that it?
Mhm.
Okay, good. You see? And that's very important. Now, after that, you can always write a book about it. But it's very important, especially, you see, I speak a lot to people who are not philosophers. I have to be able to propose them something very synthetic. And I tell this to people because I tell them, we're going to be thinking. We're going to be thinking together. And they say, but I think all the time. I say, yeah, but the thinking you speak about, it's vague thinking. It's like dancing. You can dance in a discotheque, and everybody dances in a discotheque, even me. But dancing has a technical, like learning ballet or learning some dance, then it needs work, yeah? And you're right, it's very important that I tell people in the consultation, we're going to do a more formalized, more rational type of thinking. So yes, that distinction is important, but it has to be put clearly, otherwise people get lost, yeah? So,
Okay, thank you very
are we
much.
good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. All right. But that was useful. Yeah. But you know what I know about you, Nimali?
Yes.
You know what I discovered about you? I discovered you're a professor. So you want to explain too much and you forget who you speak to. And in this case, simple-minded Oscar. Yes, you gave up on me. You were in your speech. Have pity on poor students, you know. All right, but thanks a lot. Good. All right, good.
Thank you,
It's
thank
hard
you,
to
ma'am.
be offended.
Can I have Ashpriya? Do you have
Okay,
a question?
I let you decide. Go ahead.
Okay, so sir, when you started your discussion, you started with like when like I'm a philosophy student. So you told that whatever we study most of the time that is given to us. Like we study authors, we study different philosophers. So my question is like uh, how do we think with our own views on that? Like most of the time we think we are like biased. We use their perspectives and their views. But my question is how to think out of the basket. Everything which is given to us comes into one basket. But how do we know what is our state of thinking on that? Like if you're
Mm.
getting it
Well,
somehow.
I don't know about the basket, but but actually here I'll be very concrete with you. I'm going to propose to you a way to read in a real way. If you read philosophical text, to read in a real way or in a better way. I'm going to propose to you a reading technique. You want?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Because see, I notice that most students, when they read, either they don't take notes or they just take notes about the content of what they read. And same thing when they listen to a lecture. So I tell people, no, that's first of all, you definitely have to take notes, but you need to take two types of notes. So, for example, you read a page of some philosopher, first of all, never turn a page without writing something. It's a good habit. Before you turn the page, or maximum 2 pages, write two types of notes. First of all, what are the main concepts? What are the main ideas? What are the main thing? And that what you understand from the text, right? That's the content of what you read or what you heard. It's either or your, I call them content notes, yeah. But many students, they stop at content notes. They don't write thinking notes. So then you need a second type of notes. I call them thinking notes. And what is a thinking notes? Is, well, what do you think about these ideas? Do you can agree or disagree with them? Sometimes some philosophers we agree more than others, and I agree because I don't agree because, or maybe I see a problem in this idea, or maybe I would have a question if he was here. If Kant was here, I would ask him this question, or I can think about concrete example. You see, so you have both content notes and thinking notes. You understand the concept of thinking notes? Yeah. So this means if you do that, that you are always a thinking subject and not just a receptacle receiving information. And you train yourself to always be active, and then it's like you start a dialogue with the author. If he was in front of you, you would tell him this or ask him that or object this, yeah, or tell him how you perceive what he says. So you always make sure, and even after a lecture, take a time and say, well, what do I think about this? Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense? What is the implication for life? This kind of thing. So two kinds of notes, always content notes and thinking notes.
Sir, but when we study, we found like we are totally in agreement with that. Because when we get too deep into that, it seems like it is right. And when you start reading another one, and you're like, he is also saying right. So how to, base them into what you were saying in the start of the lecture, empirical reality and absolute concept. So absolute concept in themselves seems very right, and even the problem is when we take them into our empirical reality, how to use them in this world. So
Okay, can you summarize here what you want to do? Is it a question? Is it an objection? What is it?
sorry, just you told that you
No.
must write
First,
thinking notes.
wait. Don't rush. You have an appointment with the dentist?
No, sir.
Wait, don't rush. Let's take it easy. First, I would like you to conceptualize your intention. Okay? See, that's an idea of Plato I like a lot. He says the unity of a speech, what unites it is always the intention. You understand this idea? You understand it or no? Do you hear me?
Kindly elaborate, please, on this.
Do you hear me or no?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
heard you, but can you repeat it again?
No, but okay. But you hear me when I speak? Yes, no?
yes, Oscar. Yes.
No, but Shivani, how can you answer for her?
No, I thought you were asking if
No,
you're
I'm
audible.
asking her because she was not
No,
responding. So I'm
yeah,
checking with her.
actually, I was.
Maybe she has. Okay. You see, when I ask a question, I expect an answer. It's a very stupid thing on my part, but generally, that's what I do. So when I ask, do you hear me or do you understand me? I expect yes, no. Okay. So I repeat to you the idea of Plato that the unity of a speech, its substance is the intention. Do you understand this idea?
No,
Or no?
abstain.
No. Okay. So let me then explain you briefly. For example, if you tell me today's Tuesday, well, I say, why would she tell me today's Tuesday? Everybody knows today's Tuesday, yeah? So I'm going to think, why is she saying that? And say, oh, yes, because we have an appointment on Tuesday. We're supposed to have tea together. Or, oh, yeah, Tuesday is the final day for handing in a homework, yeah? See? So otherwise, today's Tuesday doesn't mean anything. Okay, yeah, today's Tuesday. So I have to know why you say today's Tuesday. See? So the intention is crucial. You understand? Okay. So it's the same thing. Yes? You understand or no?
Yes, sir, I did
Okay, good.
understand.
Okay. So now you see, you told me a few things, but it's not clear to me what your intention is. So I'm proposing to you the typical categories of speech. We speak either because it's a request, it's a question, it's an objection, it's a comment, it's an example, you see? So I'm asking you, what is it you want to do when you speak with me so I understand your intention? Is it a question or something else?
I want to respond on that you told about thinking notes, so I want to respond on that, putting some
I
comments
just
like.
want, no, you're not answering me. Here, I want a concept that qualifies your intention. Or you don't know. And often that's the problem, why people cannot tell you, because all they know is they want to speak. They don't know why they speak, you see? And it's difficult. Sometimes you say, I just have something on my mind. But what is it? You see, and that's why sometimes we don't understand people because they don't know what their intention is. You understand this problem of intention?
A little bit.
Okay, can I ask you something? Do you think too much? Do you worry?
Sometimes maybe.
Yeah, so
No,
I
no,
like
I don't worry.
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes maybe is a very nice answer. It's like, when Romeo asks Juliet, "Do you cheat on me?" and Juliet says, "Yeah, sometimes, maybe." Yeah, right. Well, that means yes. Okay, so
No
just
worries.
just just take it easy. You know the name of your best friend?
Yes,
What's the name?
Mishti.
No, it's Oscar. It's me. All right. I'm your best friend. Okay. Just remember. Okay. So I'm not trying to torture you, even though I might be torturing you. I just want you to think. So just try to, if you cannot do it, tell me I cannot do it. Do you want to ask something from me? Do you see a problem in what I'm saying? What is it you want to say or you don't know?
I want to say that I'm having a problem about
Okay,
that
good.
situation.
You want to share your problem with me, right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, see, that's clear. Okay, so now that I know you want to share your problem, can you describe your problem? Like, for example, you see, my boyfriend broke off with me. That's simple. If you say, well, I was speaking with my boyfriend and then he's doing this and he's doing that and he's studying. Look, it's too much. Just tell me very shortly, concisely, what is your problem?
Okay. So you talked about writing thinking notes.
Okay.
Okay. So my problem is like when we study, we find ourselves in agreement with that particular philosopher.
Okay, stop. Great. Fine. I understand the problem. So if you're in agreement, you cannot write disagreement. Yeah? Right?
Yes. Yes.
You know what I learned about you? You know what I
No.
learned about you? I learned you're a nice girl. You're a good girl. You want to be nice. You want to be you. So I'll tell you something about the work as philosophy practitioner. We have to do what is called to problematize. Do you know the verb to problematize or no?
Yeah.
Okay, that means we always have to find problem. I'll give you an example. Somebody comes to me and he says, I have a problem. I lost my job. I say, where's the problem? He said, what do you mean, where's the problem? I told you I lost my job. I said, well, I don't care. Some people are happy to lose their job, but they don't want to work. So I want to know why it's a problem. Is it because you won't have money? Is it because you don't know what to do? Is it because your husband will be upset at you? I don't know, you see? So you have to invent problem. You have to find problem because, and I'm going to propose you something, no speech is absolute. There's no such a thing as an absolute speech in philosophy. In religion, yes. If you believe in God, okay, fine. It's absolute and that's it. That's in religion or in belief. But in thinking, nothing is absolute. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Or that bothers you because you're a nice girl? You know, and look, plus, if you study the history of philosophy, did you notice how much philosophers criticize each other all the time? You noticed? Yes, no?
I have seen like they comment on each other's writings. But I haven't read the history of philosophy,
Okay.
so I cannot say
Okay, well, I'll give you a scoop then if you don't know.
about it.
But there's not one philosopher who doesn't have other philosophers criticizing him. And I'll give you a simple example, very classical, is the opposition between continental philosophy, metaphysicians like in France and Germany, and Anglo-Saxon philosophers, which are more analytic philosophy. Analytic philosophy, they think metaphysics is hogwash, it's useless, it's meaningless, yeah? And from the standpoint of continental philosophy, we think that analytic philosophy is pseudoscience, it's very formal, it's not so interesting. See? So you can always find a problem in a theory, in an idea. But of course, you have to learn to do this. That means you have to stop being a nice girl And every time you read a philosopher, you have to imagine what could a criticism be? And here there's a concept. I don't know if it's familiar in India. Have you ever heard about the idea of devil's advocate? Or no? No? No. Okay, let me explain
No, no.
briefly. You see, it's a Catholic concept, because in Catholic Church, at some point, people think some guy should be a saint. He's so good, he should be a saint. Okay? So they have a commission established to decide if he should be a saint. But there's one person who's appointed as, it's called devil's advocate, because he's going to speak for the devil. He's going to try to find proof that this person is not so good. Yeah, he has done bad things. Yeah, he's going to speak for the devil. You understand? Yeah. So devil's advocate is the person who's not a nice person because he has to criticize. He has to find problems. Okay. And in philosophy, to find problem, it's called to problematize. It's a very important competency. Do you understand that? Yeah.
Yes.
So it means you have to stop being a nice girl. Can you stop being a nice girl?
Yes, sir, I'll be a bad girl.
Well, do you always agree with your mother? Or
No,
no?
not at all.
No, of course not. I would be worried if you always agree with your mother. So with your mother, you can do it. So if you can do it with your mother, you can do it with Aristotle and with Kant. Yeah? It's more difficult, but you can do it too, and at least try. But as well, it can be, you don't have to disagree. You can agree, but you have to say why you agree. You see? Or you can say it's interesting, but then you say why it's interesting. It doesn't have to be a disagreement. You can agree, but then you have to explain why you agree, why it's interesting, why it's important, something like that. Yeah. So you have to train your mind, and that's the problem with many students. They went to school, and in school, elementary school, high school, all they ask you is to learn and repeat, right? And then you go study philosophy. No, if you learn and repeat, up to me at least, you're not a good philosophy student. Good philosophy student, in the real sense, he develops critical thinking. Yeah? You understand the idea?
Yes.
Yeah? So
Sir,
you have to write personal notes.
sir, if we are doing a particular philosopher, and like you said, we have to criticize it, right? So, is it okay to use another philosopher's criticism, or we have to invent our own?
God, you're really a nice girl. And you want my permission? What is this? Come on,
No, I was saying like
think
we
I'm your
become
mother.
biased. No, I'm saying like we, by reading different philosophers, we got biased, and it comes already. It is already feeding in our mind. So it's kind of difficult to to think about your own points. Or most of the time, you just see, okay, this is its criticism, so we put it on. Like, so how to become?
Can I ask you a terrible? Can I ask you a terrible question?
Yes.
Why you don't trust yourself?
I don't know.
Well, that's my gift to you. You should think about it. Yeah, I mean, you look like you're not so stupid. You can think. Why you don't trust yourself? And I think that's a problem I see very often. Yeah, some people they think they're so smart. They trust themselves more, but that tends to be more boys. For some reason, men think they're so smart, but very often women they doubt. That's why when you have a group, men they make speeches and women are more shy. No, you got to learn to trust yourself, and don't worry about saying being perfect or anything. Just think and write your thoughts. Steal ideas from philosophers if you want. Use yours. Don't worry about this. Just write thoughts. Yeah, your thoughts. But in a way, you're right. I mean, when I think about what I write, I like to say I never invented anything. You see, I steal from philosophers. So what? You steal? When you steal the wallet from your neighbor, it's yours then, no? You agree? Once you have stolen, it belongs to you or no? No? God, you're really a good girl. Well, me, when I steal from somebody, then it's mine.
Sir, we are studying ethics. I cannot say it. It's mine.
You cannot what?
We are studying ethics, sir. How can I say it's mine? There is a moral consciousness. You won't allow me,
Well,
maybe
my
guilt.
friend, there are very different type of ethics, Uh, some ethics will tell you if it makes you feel good, do it. It's there, but visibly you have a good girl ethics, yes. But ethics is very debatable. There's utilitarian ethics, there's virtue ethics. There are different kind of ethics. Maybe you should invent the uh, Ashiprian ethics. Yes. Yeah. So, did you like our discussion?
Yes, sir.
Tell me one reason why you liked it, because otherwise I don't believe you.
Okay, so you basically pointed out the weakest points of mine, and yeah, it's kind of intrigued me, and it I kind of reflect on myself, like, okay, I may have not think about that point, but now it's like, okay, I'm digesting it now.
Yeah. And you see, that's what I explained at the beginning. For Socrates, the real subject is the person. Huh? Because then this affects the thinking. And for example, in your case, I would give you an idea of Hegel. He says the first mistake is the fear of mistake. That's the first mistake. Because if you fear mistake, then you don't dare think anymore, because you'll say, I'm going to say stupid things, I will be wrong, blah, 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 Yeah. So never fear mistakes. Just say what's on your mind. Good? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashpriya. I would like to, I know Pratyush has raised his hand for a very long time. I would first like to ask Alok sir, one of our professors, to ask this question, and then we'll take the last question from Pratyush. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
oh, thank you.
Hello,
Thank you
hello,
very
Alok
much,
sir.
Akshat. I have a problem. The problem is that in actual day-to-day life, we have worrying and thinking going together. For example, if a family member gets cancer, so a lot of worry in the family members is there, and also what to do. So the parents and members also think about that. They just consult doctors, tests, and all that. So, can we separate the two? As you said, if we go for some activity which we like, then this worrying part is cut off.
Yeah.
But that is something we do. We go for
Okay.
hobbies, we go for gardening. But in actual life, when we face the problems, then worrying and thinking go together. How to
Okay.
separate that,
Well,
or can
actually,
it not be done?
okay,
This is the
Alok,
question.
I'll tell you a technique which I use to separate thinking and worrying. You
I
see,
don't, I don't have, I don't have any technique.
no, I know. That's my gift to you. Do you want my gift?
Oh,
I
any
have a gift for
that
you.
I will preserve it. That will be a great boon to me, not only a gift,
Okay.
because
So,
people charge me for overthinking, and I
no,
think this overthinking is worrying plus thinking.
okay. You're losing me a bit, but I'll try to make my gift anyhow. Okay. Now, one big difference between, for me, there are different differences between worrying and thinking. One of them is thinking is free. It has freedom. It has autonomy. When worrying, no. You see, when you worry, you're stuck with a certain pattern and you cannot get out of it. Thinking, no. Thinking, you can have different hypotheses and you can have different ideas. You have to be creative. So suppose somebody says, I take for example, okay, it's terrible. My mother is dying. Yeah. So I say, first of all, we try to identify why you worry about it. And he says, I don't know, because I love her. I'll feel lonely with her. Fine. Okay, now we know why you don't like, you're not happy, your mother's dead. Now I said, suppose you speak to a child, and the child is sad because his mother or his whatever is dying, and you want him to think differently. What could you tell him? What could be a different idea that you could tell this person? Yeah. And here, actually, I have a thought in my mind, because I have worked a lot on a Chinese philosopher. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chinese philosophy in India, but his name is Chuang-Tzu. He's a Taoist philosopher, and I've worked a lot on him. In fact, on my website, there's a couple of books you can download about him. But one story he's famous for is a story about the death of his wife. His wife dies. And then a neighbor comes, and what is Chuang-Tzu doing? He's playing music with a drum, and he's singing. And the neighbor is shocked. He says, what are you doing? Your wife died, and I come to console you, and there you are playing music and playing the drum. And Chuang-Tzu answers, says, look, at first, when my wife died, I was sad to lose her. And then I started thinking. And then I said, look, when I look at the before being alive, my wife had no spirit, he had no shape. Then she came to life, she had a spirit, she had a shape. Now she's dead, she has no spirit, no shape. So it's exactly like the season, spring, summer, fall, autumn, then things disappear, come back again. And I told myself, it's a normal process, yeah? So the way that Chuang-Tzu reconciled himself with the death of his wife is thinking, this is nature. It's a natural process. We come to life and we die, yeah? So that's an example. But I'm going to invite the person to think what could be a way to reconcile yourself with the death, So either he can do it. If he really cannot do it, I'll give him the story of Chuang-Tzu, or I'll give him the idea of the Stoicians, that when you're alive, death is not a problem, and when you're dead, death is not a problem either, because you're dead. Yeah. So you see, so I'll get the person to think different hypotheses, to problematize the thinking, to look at different paradigm, different hypotheses. And that's a big difference between worrying and thinking. Worrying is stuck. It's got one way of thinking. Generally, it's bad. Something is bad. It's painful. It hurts. La, la, la. Yeah. So to think, you have to take distance and to think in different ways. And then you're thinking because you have different hypotheses. Do you understand my proposal, Alok?
Oh, I understand it very well, but it is not possible to practice it, because worrying, you cannot switch it off. It comes.
Well,
and thinking, not in case of death.
Well,
there is
have
no
you heard?
option. But where there are many possibilities, then
have you heard of Arjuna?
Pardon?
Have you heard of
Pardon?
Arjuna?
Arjuna,
Okay,
yeah.
Have you heard of Krishna?
We are. this is part of our culture.
Yes,
know
exactly.
all these things.
And I'm surprised you forget. But Arjuna, you see, he doesn't want to kill his cousins. He's worried about death and killing his cousins. Yeah. And Krishna is going to teach him a lesson so he can go and do what he has to do, which is to go to war against his cousins. And it worked with Arjuna because he changed his mind, you see? So if Krishna can do it, you can do it. Is that good?
I think Arjuna was more correct than Krishna.
Okay, fine.
My
Okay,
perspective is quite different.
Okay, but what I'm
Krishna,
saying
Krishna
is,
could not convince Arjuna. He did. He gave all the arguments, but in the end, he has to show his big powers of divine powers to convince Arjuna, and
okay,
that way he was coaxed into some sort of a decision by Krishna. Krishna
okay,
could not convince Arjuna, and Arjuna's argument are very strong. And in this world where we are facing a lot of
okay,
uh,
okay. So
threat to
let
war
I
me,
and all that, it is not
okay.
that Arjuna was wrong.
Look. Can I
Yeah.
propose to you one thing? That a rational person can always change his mind. Is that okay with you, or no?
I think mind has got that rational as well as irrational part of it.
But
I may
Allah, be
change my
nice.
I may change my
See,
mind, but I may
good.
not practice accordingly because
Well,
of the irrational things
okay,
motivating
I
us.
would
Or
like to inform everyone and Oscar also that we have only 30 minutes left,
okay.
and
But I'm
we
going
have
to
only
give up with Allah. He's too strong for me. He's too powerful for me. He's like Krishna, too strong for me. Okay. All right. So,
Thank you,
yes.
sir. Uh, I would like to invite Pratyush. Please ask a question or comments. That'll be the last question. For any other questions, I'll
But
send
I,
my email down there and we can
but I thought we
continue.
had a half hour left. No?
Yes, sir, but I think we have the concluding address from Shivani, ma'am. And if we
Okay.
have more time, we will take up another question. Yeah,
All
of
right.
course.
Okay.
I
Fine.
All right.
I think Dr. Anurima is also there. Let her also ask after Pratyush. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Hi, sir. My problem was exactly the same, not the same exactly, but very similar to what Mr. Tandon asked. I couldn't really grasp the difference between worrying and thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem in placing them in different domains.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you study mathematics
Hmm.
and you had to solve problem mathematics? Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
You know that experience, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, did you have in your life something that really bothers you and you worry about it? Anything? Did you ever have that experience?
Yeah.
Give me an example of something that either worried you in the past or worries you now.
Maybe last month I finished my pocket money very soon.
I didn't hear. Repeat.
Last month I finished my pocket money very soon, so I was in sort of a financial
Okay.
crunch.
So you worry about your pocket money, yeah?
Yeah.
Good? All right.
Yeah.
Now take both experiences. One where you worry about your pocket money, the other one where you are focused on a mathematics problem. Yeah? Okay. Do you see any difference in your mental state, or for you it's exactly the same mental state?
Uh, I can't place them very far from each other. I do agree
No.
that there is some sort of difference between them,
Okay.
but
Wait. Just let's hey. I know pocket money runs out, but time never runs out. So that's the good thing about time. We always have time if we want to take it. So you agree there's a difference, yeah, in the state of mind. You agree?
yeah,
Okay. Can you say one aspect, one difference in the state of mind in both cases? Something you identify, there's a difference. Can you give that difference?
maybe in solving a math problem, I was not that afraid of the consequences because it was just one math problem. But
Okay.
when,
Hey, there you go. But pocket money, you're afraid of consequences, right?
yeah,
Do you see now the important difference? When we worry, we are afraid. You see? But when we think, no, we're not afraid.
yeah, but then again, how are we supposed to differentiate
What?
emotions from
No, wait.
thinking?
Pratyush, you're young. You should not be in a rush. I should be in a rush. I don't have much time to live. I don't understand why you're in a rush like that. Can you tell me why?
I'm sorry.
Or it's the way you function. You're always in a rush. Yeah? You know, there is a French philosopher called Descartes. You know Descartes? You heard of him or no? Yeah.
Yeah.
For him, the main enemy of thinking is rushing. He said, rushing. People, they rush. They want to, no. We're together. If you were sitting next to each other, we could have a whiskey or a cup of tea, whatever. And take it easy, okay? First, okay, then we'll see other things, but later. First of all, when we think, there's no fear. So it's pleasurable. It's more pleasurable when there's no fear. Do you agree?
Sort
Yes
of.
or no? Yeah, well, when you have fear, is it pleasurable or painful?
It's painful.
Okay, so when it's no fear, it's more pleasurable. You agree?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's logic, right? If one is more painful, the other one is
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
pleasurable, or at least less painful. Good? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So already you see, we identify one important first difference. Worrying is painful, not pleasant. We would prefer to avoid it. And indeed, think of your pocket money, no pocket money. How are you gonna, go out with the friends, whatever, pay your food. But mathematics problem, no fear. So that's very important. Are you okay with that first difference? In one case, there's fear. In the other one, there's no fear. Can this be a worthwhile distinction?
Yeah, I guess it can be a distinction.
Okay. Now we agree with that. Do you see a problem in that distinction? Something
Yeah, I
bothering
see.
you?
Yeah, I do. And that is the exact feelings of pleasure and pain that we attach to thinking and worrying both.
Yeah. What about
Uh,
it?
when we are thinking of a maths problem, it's not exactly pleasurable because we are thinking of other consequences. We will get good marks from it. It is not an end in itself.
Wait a minute. You're cheating on me. You notice? Because you're not thinking about the math problem anymore. You're thinking about your grades. You're another good student there. You don't care about the math. You care about your grades and your diploma, right?
Yeah.
You see? So that's why you have a problem with it, because you're not thinking. You're worrying again. You always worry, even when you do a math problem. So let me ask you, is there something in your life that you're going to think about, but you don't worry about the consequences? Is there such a thing in your life? Like earlier with our friend, it was when she does her writing novels, her creative writing. Is there something in your life where you think without worrying about consequences, or you like to worry so much that whatever you do, you worry? Or is there something where you don't worry?
I guess this discussion that we have right here, I'm not worrying about it.
Okay, good. I'm happy to provide you with a worry-free exercise. But why now, talking to me, why you're not worried?
Because that was the exact question I was going to ask you. Thinking as an end in itself, what we are doing right
Okay,
now, for me,
okay, that's good. It has an end in itself. It's good in itself, right?
yeah.
And you see, and when I do a consultation with someone who's worried, I invite him, like instead of inviting him to have a drink together or play tennis together, I invite him to have a nice, pleasurable thinking activity. Does that
So
make sense to
according,
you?
yeah, so just one question. So according to you, this thinking is non-attached, not attached to emotions at all.
No, no, there is emotion.
The
It's
pleasure.
pleasure. I'm
Okay.
happy. Come on, we're not robots. There's always some kind of, if not emotion, because emotion is strong, but at least some feelings. I think we're never neutral. And that's an idea of Leibniz. We're never neutral. There's no neutrality. There's always emotion is strong, right? But it's intense. But at least some feeling that at any moment in your life you do have certain type of, not necessarily strong, but certain feeling, rather more pleasant, more unpleasant. There's always a feeling. And if you enjoy the discussion with me, I hope you have a feeling of pleasure, right?
Right.
And then you don't worry about what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
Now, by the way, to show I saw about stealing, I stole this idea from Spinoza. Spinoza claims that the only real, substantial, and infinite pleasure we can get is about thinking. Everything else is finite. Physical pleasure is limited. Money is limited. Glory is limited. You can always lose it. Yeah. But the only pleasure that if you have it, nobody can take it away from you is the pleasure of thinking. And you can say that it's the highest type of activity in the human mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You like this idea?
Yeah. So just to clarify in my mind what you just said. So there's a thinking which is an in itself and it causes pleasure. And there's a thinking or it is not thinking that we worry about.
Well, if you start, if you see, as you said, suppose, imagine an artist. There's an artist that paints, he likes painting. And there's another one, he's worried about selling his paintings. Yeah? Well, the second one is a bit corrupted. He's not artist anymore. He's a merchant. He's a salesman, and he's going to try to fit his art to the market, for example. You see? So he's betraying. Now, if you speak to me, for example, because you want to look smart or you want to get a diploma, well, you're not thinking with me anymore because you want to get a result. Thinking in a rigorous sense of the term, logos, as the lady earlier said, it's its own self-subsisting exercise. Yeah, you do it for itself, for the beauty of itself, just like you could take a walk in the woods for the beauty of taking a walk in the woods, or you could compose music. You see, and that's very important to distinguish in our lives. What is it we do which has value in itself, and what is it that we do for something else? And according to Aristotle and others, what has real value is something you do in itself. Otherwise, it's not, it's just an instrument for something else.
Right.
You see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So visibly, if you like talking to me, you like thinking, well, then enjoy the thinking. And when you start worrying about your pocket money, think about how money is meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make the problem disappear, but at least for a moment, just enjoy yourself and say, oh, come on, money is secondary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, that's where philosophy gives freedom. That's why it gives freedom, because you are not determined to come back to the discussion with Divita. You're not determined by circumstances anymore. You produce your own world.
Right.
Is that good for you?
Yes, Oscar. Thank you.
All right, good. Do you want to add something, or we're good?
We're good.
All right.
Thank
good.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, Pratyush. I would just like to ask you, Ani ma'am, do we have time for another question?
Yes, please ask Dr. Anurima Bhattacharya. She wants to ask
All
something.
right. This is the last question.
Yeah, please.
All right.
So my question is that we start thinking because there is a reason to think. There's a purpose to think, and
wait. Can I stop you a second? You say we think because there's a reason to think. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can we check this for a minute?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah. Do you think the universe exists because there's a reason for the universe to exist, or no? Or you don't know?
Yes, there's a reason.
Which one?
Can I continue?
Yeah, well, answer my question. What's the reason for the universe to exist, you think?
I mean, it's not necessary, or I don't know the reason, but there must be some reason. I mean, that is my answer.
Well, that's you're a believer, right?
Yeah.
There must be a reason. I don't know the reason, but there must be a reason. Yeah. Well, it's called an act of faith. Yeah. You know. And there's a famous question of Leibniz that Heidegger took. He says, "Why is there something and not nothing?" That's a very nice question, but I don't think anybody answered that unless you have a belief, for example, God exists and God wanted creation or something like that. Yeah. But if you don't do that, so the reason I'm saying that because hey, there's a reason to think. Well, are you okay that certain things happen? We don't know why they happen. Does that make sense to you that causality is limited and sometimes things happen? There's no reason why they happen. We just know they happen.
But we don't start to think unless there is any sort of provocation at all.
Any sort of what?
Any sort of reason to start thinking at all.
Well, are you okay that there is some ontological reason? There is a certain way of being, of beings have a certain way of being. Is that okay with you? There's something intrinsic to beings. Okay. If I tell you that thinking is intrinsic to the nature of the human being, does that make sense to you?
Okay, that is part of the nature, but we
Yeah.
exercise that. But we exercise that only when there comes up some purpose. It is a
Well, no.
potentiality.
No, there's no reason. There's no purpose. You see, when Aristotle tells you man is a rational animal, it's the way man is. There's no reason, there's no cause, there's no purpose. It's just the way that the human being is. He's got just the way a fish swims. It's part of his nature. He lives in the water and he swims. Beings have as well a certain way of being, which is part of their nature. It's their essence, you could say. Does that make sense to you?
The context is important. I mean, there should be some context to think.
Somewhat?
Some context to think.
Well, I don't know. Why do you think? Well, why do you think there should be a context? Why do you say that?
What do I think at all if there is no context? What do I think? I must be thinking about something. I must be thinking about something. I cannot just think. I have to think about something. So if there is no context.
Okay. But is it possible you rush to conclusions too quickly? Well, you see, because there's different ways. There are two different ways to explain something. One is ontological, or you can call it natural or essential, and something else called contextual. Is that okay that there's two different ways to explain things? Or no? No, because if you don't want, fine, then I know that for you, everything is contextual. That's the way you think. Fine, then I cannot do anything about it. So I'm asking you, do you think it's possible that there's a contextual explanation and an ontological explanation? Does that make sense to you or no?
Yeah, absolutely. But
okay,
I'll go by
so
that.
If it's absolutely, it means that certain questions don't make sense. If, for example, thinking is part of human nature, you don't ask why, you don't ask what's the purpose, you don't ask, you can have to analyze some particular case, yeah? But in itself, you don't ask this question. But of course, the context can affect the thinking, but you will never find the cause or purpose of thinking in itself because it's ontological. Does that make sense to you or no?
Yes, sir. But thinking it is a part of nature. It's a disposition, but the disposition is actualized only when there is something to think. I think. I mean, it is.
Well, okay. Then I have good news for you. There's always something, because nothing is out of a context. So yes, you'll always have things that provoke, but still, even though there are things that provoke, there's some ontological dimension. But of course, and even though each human being has a potential thinking power, yes, depending on his education, where he lives, what happens, yes, it will modify the way he thinks, his capacity of thinking. Yeah, but still, it's two different things. One is the ontological dimension, other one is circumstantial dimension. Because see, some people want to explain everything with circumstances. Other, they want to explain everything ontologically. And I think that both you can analyze either ontologically or circumstantially. Does that make sense to you or no?
Yes.
Okay. So can we agree that it's part of human nature to think, but the way we think and how we think and our power of thinking will be modified by circumstances?
Yes, sir. I agree.
We can go with this proposition? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now that we agree on this proposition, do you have a problem you want to raise or no? That's sort of...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wanted to proceed. Yeah.
Go ahead.
My second premise was that we stop thinking when we solve a problem, or when, I mean, the purpose is lost, or when the purpose is served. Okay. Then
Wait. You're funny. I like talking to you, but you conclude easily. You conclude easily, yeah? For example, you say, we stop thinking about a problem when the problem is solved, yeah? Well, you know who thinks like that? Are utilitarian people. That's the way they think. But you have another way to think than the utilitarian way. Do you know that or no?
yes, sir. Please say.
Okay. Well, if a philosopher, you see, he likes solving problems. It's not the main point. If you're an engineer, you want to solve problems. Businessman, you want to solve problem, then forget it. That's done. A philosopher, let's say he solves a problem or there's a problem solved. You know, what he likes to do is examine the process. How was this solved? Is there still a problem? Yeah. What was the method? What were the presuppositions? Why was it a problem? So solving the problem does not end the thinking. It can even start the thinking. But that's in a philosophical mode. But the way you speak, you have a more utilitarian idea that once it's solved, done, forget it, right? So I'm getting to know you, and already you did it before. You say there's a reason, there's a purpose. Do you have a utilitarian type of thinking?
Sir, I want to reach my question. I haven't yet reached.
No, but don't worry. We have time. Don't worry. Do you agree with me that you have rather utilitarian type of thinking, or no?
I don't know. I'm not conscious that whether I have that approach or not. But what
Yeah.
I said exactly, I said. If
That's
that suits, like my, I mean, if that suits, you're saying that I fall into this category. I don't mind because I just said what I said.
I know you say what you say, but you see, Pascal, the French philosopher, that's the way he defines philosophy, is to know what we say. But most people, when they speak, they don't know what they say. You see, they're not conscious of what is the paradigm behind their thinking. And that's our job as in philosophical practice. People say something and then we invite them to analyze the nature of what they say and the paradigm underlying what they're saying, you see? And that's the job. And that's why I listen to you and I'm checking with you, but you told me you never thought about it. Maybe you should think about it. But the way it's not a sin, it's not a crime, but the way you think tends to be utilitarian. Does that make sense to you or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
The way I'm
fine.
presenting,
Okay. What?
even I discover that. Even I discover that when I'm presenting myself. Uh, okay, sir. Actually, I wanted to say that do we reach actually anywhere? I mean, that was my question. Do we at all reach
Wait. Do
anywhere?
we what? Wait. Do we what?
Do we at all reach anywhere by the process of thinking?
Okay, I just have a problem. I don't hear the word well. Do we reach anywhere? What's
Reach. Do we
okay?
reach
Reach.
at all
Okay.
anywhere?
Can I torture you a little bit more?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Because again, it's a utilitarian question. Do you notice?
Yeah, yeah,
Because you want to
yeah, I
reach,
agree.
you want to go someplace, you want to
Absolutely.
reach. Yeah, okay, you start seeing it. Now, again,
Yeah.
why not? But you have to be conscious of it, yeah? Because you see, often when I do a consultation, I tell people, never mind where we're going to go. Just stay. It's like when you have a cup of tea with a friend. Do you wonder where it's going to go, or just enjoy the cup of tea? What do you do? Or you wonder what time it's going to stop?
So no, sir, I didn't get your question. Please.
When you have, do you ever have a cup of tea with a friend?
Yeah.
Yes?
Hmm?
Okay. Do you wonder, oh, where is that going to go? When it's going to stop? Or you just enjoy having a cup of tea with your friend? Which one?
I would love to enjoy the moment.
Okay. Well, but with me, you're not doing it, you see? With me, you keep
Sorry.
saying, we're going to go, what's going to happen? Where does it come from? You see? With me, you're not a friend, you're a utilitarian, you think, you see? And I invite you to contemplate the moment. But I see that you think about the future already. Yeah? It's fun? Is it funny?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Good.
I
You see?
understand.
But that's it's a very important part of the job when we talk to someone is make him see his thinking matrix, his paradigm. Do you understand the idea of thinking matrix or paradigm? You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Huh? See, because what produces the idea, what generates the idea, and any particular idea is a symptom of a paradigm, of a matrix. Yeah. You like that?
Yes, sir.
So it's not anymore where we're going to go, is what do we have? An animal. What is this animal? We'll see later what happens to him. But for now, what is it? How does it function? Yeah. Nice.
Oscar,
Thank you.
uh,
Thank you.
we are actually running out of time, and I want to ask you that there are two more questions in the chat. Would you like to take them?
Okay. I never say no to a question. So let's go.
Okay, so we have two people, and the last participants. So
Okay.
there's Tulika, who's asking that is philosophical practice an art or a skill? And there is Shibu,
But it's Tulika. Okay. Tulika, that's your question. If it's an art or skill?
Hello, sir. Yeah, it's an actual question. If philosophical
But
practice,
but I have a problem. You just
yeah,
killed me with your question. You know
I
why?
didn't mean to. I couldn't help it, sir.
Because I don't know the difference between art and a skill. For me, it's the same thing. So to answer your question, I would have to know the difference you make. You understand my problem?
Okay. Okay. So skill for me, so that's not a problem. I'll just explain what according to me is a skill and an art. So it's something that one learns time, possibly with practice or something, as we are like artists. So that
Okay.
art is something
We
that
have a
something
connection
somebody
problem.
is born with.
Okay. Now
Can you hear
we have a
me?
connection problem. So I'm not totally clear, but I'll try to answer anyhow. For me, they're the same because in both cases, you can learn a skill, you can learn an art, but as well, you have people which are more gifted for art, more gifted for a skill. So it's both something in it, something in you, in your way of being, and something you learn through practice. And that's why I have a hard time distinguishing art and skill. You understand my answer?
I think we have a
Okay.
connection problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So let's go to the next one. Yes, we
yeah, we
have
have the last question. Shall we take it up, Shivani ma'am?
yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So it's Shubhu. The next question is by Shubhu. If I know nothing, why do I want to know anything? Yeah. Can you
Well, it
please?
seems
Yeah.
like logic. If I know that I know nothing, I'm conscious of something, then I'm thirsty. If I know everything, then I'm not thirsty. But if I know nothing, but actually it comes back a bit to the discussion we had earlier with our utilitarian friend. You know, I think there's something within the human being. We're curious. We want to know. We want to understand. Yeah. So the more we don't know, the more we want to know. So, yeah.
Is there any follow-up comment, Shubhu, or
Uh,
does that
yes,
satisfy?
sir. Sir, but sometimes this idea can also be like problematic because, like, we can have a good excuse with everything. Like, for example, if we are having an argument with someone, like, we'll just say that since I know that I know nothing, so what's the point of even talking about it?
Okay, but that's different. That's a rhetorical way of speaking to get rid of someone. Yeah, I don't know.
No, sir. Sir, it's not
Leave me
actually to
alone.
get rid of someone, sir. Sir, sometimes it does happen that we actually do realize that, like, we know a lot about something, and we know that speaking about it wouldn't make a difference. And like, we truly understand the statement, I know nothing. And but the ideal situation should be that we should be talking about that situation or that scenario because we want something to change.
Yeah, but you
But,
know, listening to you, it makes me think of Wittgenstein language games. You know, you can take the same statement and it can be used in different ways. It can be used to say, I want to know. It can be used to say, oh, leave me alone. It can be used to say, I know nothing about nuclear physics, so okay, it's too complicated. See, so the problem of that sentence there, I have to use the concept of concept we used earlier, of context. Depending on the context, it can have very different meanings. So all I can speak about now is the Socratic idea that we have a desire for reason, and that's the idea of philosophy. We have a desire for thinking. So if I know nothing, I want to know, and that's why I ask questions. But that's the Socratic meaning of the sentence. After that, you can have different types of usage of that sentence, rhetorical usage. Yeah. Okay. Is that it? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. But one thing I propose, I know you have a workshop with Matthias Yamini. Is that it?
Yes.
When is it?
Yes, on the 4th. On the 4th.
On the
4th November,
4th.
Friday.
Okay. Okay. Because if some people are interested in the practice, as Yamini is, and she can tell you, yeah, that's the idea that I don't know if it's an art or a skill, to answer what I said earlier, but definitely practice is needed, even it's, be it art or practice. And that's what we try to propose in different countries, yeah, is to propose exercise and training to people to practice. Even if you don't want to be a philosophical practitioner, it's useful for life, it's useful for studies, it's useful for whatever job we have. So we invite everybody to keep practicing. And, you know, I invite you afterwards. We can discuss with Yamini. If people want to practice, we can organize some activities. Yes, because I see some people are very dynamic here. So I would be happy that we do some work again. So for now, I think we have to stop. So I thank you for your patience and your
Thank you so much,
dynamism.
sir.
And
Yes, Shivani ma'am.
I have
Yeah,
I have
please.
added the link to the website of Institute of Philosophical Practice. You can write there. You can write to Akshat or me. Both our emails are also available in the chat and in the emails we sent in the for the invitation and registration form. So if there's anything, you can write to us more questions, inquiry about the practice or institute or about Oscar. Anything, please write to us. And now I would like to give the microphone to Shivani ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So let me just very quickly and briefly bring up the message that we are supposed to take away from this workshop. And I think some of them are very, very interesting. One is that as students of philosophy, we must underline the difference between, when we say that uh, idea is one of the core concerns of philosophy, but as Oscar started, he introduced that not the idea, it's the person, it's an individual, it's the soul that should be one of the, if not should be, I mean, it could be one of the possible potential concept or an entity. As an entity, it has to be understood. And secondly, thinking is a form of dialogue, which he suggests that it demands a fracture of your entity of entity or soul, whereby you become both. You become a listener, you become a speaker, you engage yourself into a dialogue. Another, which is very another message that I could capture, and others are most welcome to add up to the messages that we could gather. As he was saying, the content message and the thinking message, that we'll ponder it over later. And knowledge is not the issue, thinking is the issue. And of course, questioning presupposes that you know nothing. It means, it came up to us as a question from Shubhu. And the obvious enemy to thinking is, let's define definition of uh, a concept, or definition in itself is another landmark which was offered to us. And of course, the concrete reality and the experience and the abstraction that has to be taken care of while we ponder, while we reflect, while we think. And find your own therapy is another interesting message, which is probably generated out of while we engage with Oscar's methodology. And of course, worrying and thinking was another interesting debate that was generated, which is very useful for us to actually make out how worrying is different from thinking, and how it can be beneficial for us to stay away while we reflect, while we think what thinking is and what worrying is. So naturally, another uh, interesting comment that was made by Oscar himself, with reference to one of the philosophers, that man's enemy is main enemy sorry not man main enemy to thinking is rush. And of course, I think slowing down, pacing down is one of the virtues, I would say. And COVID time was one of the examples that how nature put us on a halt. It was from the nature's world that we were uh, stranded on many fronts. And of course, infinite pleasure is the pleasure of thinking. I completely agree, and I'm really thankful for bringing this on the table. And philosophy gives us freedom. Now, I think these are not mere cliches, these are not mere statements, they embody um, complete it resonates, these ideas actually resonates and leave us, I'm sure, it leaves us all with some feeling of awe and wonder towards this new practice that has been coming since few years. And I think I'll fall short of words to thank Oscar Brenifer to have spared his precious time despite of his busy schedule. I also wish to bring it on record that I'm in deep gratitude towards my colleagues from different departments, those who are here from I see professors from Lucknow University. I see Bala Ganpati. I see Professor Namita Nimbalkar from Mumbai University and from Delhi University, and our old friend Alok ji, and our loving and very enthusiast students. I'm really thankful to everyone. I see my teacher, Professor Geeta Manaktala, our friend Gargi Jain. I'm so thankful to one and all, and of course to our research scholars, Akshat Kapoor and Yamini, for concretizing this dream that we were thinking of conducting these webinars or online meets, which could enrich us, which could leave us with some message to think over time and again. So I'm really thankful to one and all for sparing your time. Thank you. Over to you, Yamini.
I think everything is said. I just want to again thank everyone and Oscar for doing what you enjoy doing, and everyone else for coming and participating. I know a lot of people were very excited to see what philosophical practice is, and this is the first of our workshops and special lectures, and I believe it has been very pleasurable for you all and entertaining too. So I think we hope to see you again, first on the next this Friday, and then we'll inform you. So thank you, Oscar, and thank you, professors and everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Good night, ma'am. Good night. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you, Bharati. Thank you, Desraj. Thank you, Anurima. Thank you. Thank you, Tarun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Shivani,
Desraj.
wonderful
Thank
experience.
you.
Wonderful
Thank you.
experience. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
Welcome,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Desraj.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tarun, Picha
Abhishek.
Abhishek. Thank you.
Abhishek.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
see. Thank you, Gargiji.
Thank you
Thank you so
so
much.
much, Shivani ji. It's always a
Thank you.
pleasure to enjoy the seminars, etc. You enjoy, organize, and I definitely like to join them and would definitely continue if you have these philosophical counseling ones, because that's one of my interests which got stopped in between, and now it'll pick up again.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you
We
so
are
much.
very hopeful that. Yeah.
Very wonderful session, Shivani.
Hi,
I love
Namita. How are
the moment
you?
of it. I'm good. I'm good. I loved each moment of it, and the demonstrations and everything was like to the T. And especially Yami and Akshat too. You people really did a fantastic job. So love the way you even compared the entire program, and wishes for a bright future in philosophical counseling.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Namita, so much. Thank you. So we now quit.
Next week.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
take
Good.
an exit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good
Okay.
night.
Bye,
Bye,
Yamini.
Yamini.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Yamini.
Bharat.
Bye-bye.
Thank
And
you.
Good
Tarun.
to see
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
after a long time, Yamini.
Yeah, it was good to see you too, ma'am.
You were there in Tarsia's
Yes,
lectures,
I
no?
was.
Should I close the
Yes,
recording?
yes, yes.
Yes,
Please,
yes,
huh?
please.
Yes.
Please close the recording.
Ma'am, we will try to continue this, and I think I should have invited Tasia too. I
Okay.
forgot to invite. I have lost her contact. Do you have her contact?
If I have, I'll email it to you. I've taken your
Okay.
email. Okay.
Shivani ma'am, Tasia is a Russian practitioner, and we used to have in Delhi University, we used to have a group, and she used to do informal training for a lot of us. and Gargi ma'am and I were part of that training group, and we
Acha.
did with Tasya.
All
And it was quite a long one. It wasn't for one. It was for a number twice a week. I think it went and went on for 3-4 months.
Yes.
good. Good.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.